when you look yourself in the mirror and examine the image that is being portrayed back at you, what do you see? This question is one that perhaps everyone encounters in life. The difference is, some look at the image and submit to it. Others look at the image and become depressed by it, while few others look at the image and say to themselves, "I've got to do some reconstructions because this is not who I see myself to be." Whichever category you find yourself in, there is still hope for you. And I came to assure you that the hope is much more closer than you think, no matter or despite what people may have told you. Today on Believers Diaries, we are taking a turn in knowing and discovering your true identity. You have to know yourself. You have to discover yourself. And of course, this program is all about sharing your experiences, your encounters, and your testimonies to expand the kingdom of God. You can also follow us on all our social media platforms, especially on YouTube, for that is where we drop our full videos. If you have any comments, any participation or support, you can also contact Believers Diaries and we will be at your service. Bless us and you will be a blessing. My guest today is an apostle, a great and a wonderful man of God who is by the name Apostle Emmanuel Augustus Koomson, who is the General Overseer of Glory Revival Christian Center and also a lecturer of Harvestfield University College. My name is Lady Glow, and it is my hope that every conversation and discussion we have on this platform becomes a blessing to you. And so today's topic, I believe that if you are able to watch to the very end, you will be able to identify your true self. And so help me welcome my guest and let's get started. Man of God, you're welcome to Believers Diaries.
Thank you.
So glad and privileged to have you here.
Thank you.
Today, we're talking about knowing and discovering your true identity. Yeah. There is a saying that goes that, man, know thyself. So
very
today,
important.
I believe that you are going to help us know ourselves and identify our true identity.
Which is very important.
Exactly. Talking about self-identity. First of all, I want you to tell us about self, the concept of self, and what is self-discovery.
Self is defined as your consciousness of your own identity. Your consciousness of your own identity. Self is the real you. What makes you different from the others? There's a saying which goes, all hands are not equal. If I have to explain it from another point of view, in other words, they are all hands, but doing different, thing, to produce results. So, every human being is a unique individual. God never created a counterfeit of anyone on the earth. No. Everyone is a unique individual that has been brought on the earth to fulfill an assignment. So when you come to this world and you do not know your true identity, you will become a carbon copy. And then a counterfeit. And then it is very dangerous for God, your creator, to see you as a carbon copy. Because every individual will give account of himself to God. Account. So an assignment has been given to you, which is a unique assignment which no one has. But you can't function alone. That's the reason why we collaborate with each other. But then you are a unique individual to fulfill an assignment. So you must know your real you to enable you to fulfill your purpose in life. So failure to know who you are definitely will not let you serve the purpose by which your creator created you on the earth.
Okay, so self-discovery, when you are able to identify your true self, it leads to fulfillment.
Yeah.
That is life fulfillment.
That is
you
exactly
have fulfillment in yourself and in the life that you live in.
Yeah.
Okay.
An example like John the Baptist. Whilst everybody was thinking John the Baptist was Jesus Christ, John the Baptist knew his identity. So he made his hearers to know that he wasn't the Christ. the time that people came to him and told him that Christ was baptizing more people than him, he let them know that he made them to know that yes, he has to increase for him to decrease.
You made mention that Christ was baptizing more people than him.
Yeah,
like
than John the Baptist.
Jesus Christ was baptizing.
Yes. People came to him and told John the Baptist that Christ, the one that he introduced to the public, was gaining more disciples and then baptizing more people than John the Baptist, or gaining more followers. But then John the Baptist, because he knew his identity and knowing very well where he had to stand in the society, he made them to know that yes, Christ had to increase for John the Baptist to decrease. So he wasn't envious of Christ's ministry. So if you know your identity, there's no way you crash with anyone. Like the stars in the sky, they are all shining. No star is, overshadowing another star or competing with another star or being envious. So knowing your identity will help you to overcome envious and anything that doesn't make association palatable.
I love this particular point you're making, and it tells you that how people are envious about their loved ones tells that they have not come to the discovery of who they are.
Yes.
Because if you know yourself, you wouldn't envy someone else.
No, because you are a star on your own, and you are not the only star on the earth. Everybody is a star. Anyone who has been created, even twins are not the same. They are not equal. Yeah. That is the reason why there isn't any duplicate on print on the earth. Out of 7-point-something billion or 8-point-something billion on the earth, everybody's thumbprint is different. So God created us to be different. So it's prohibited for you to become a counterfeit or a duplicate or a carbon copy. You have to be original. So knowing yourself, identity is very important. It's not an option. It is necessity.
It's a must.
It's a must.
For you to know yourself.
Very important.
And you shouldn't be a counterfeit.
Had it not been that, God wouldn't have said, lack of knowledge, my people perish. So we need knowledge. So self-discovery is very important.
Wow. That is a great, powerful point you're making in there.
Thank you.
So is there any types or categories when it comes to the self-discovery?
Yeah, when it comes to the theory of self or the concept of self, philosophers and theologians, we have so many categories in a way, but broadly, 4 has been accepted.
Okay.
And if I have to make mention of them, the 4 that is generally accepted by philosophers and theologians, 1, the known self. The known self. 2, the public self. 3 is the private self, and 4 is the unknown self.
Okay, so we have the known self, the private self,
public self,
the public self,
private self,
the private self,
and the unknown self.
And the unknown self. Kindly put words into these 4 categories.
Yeah, when it comes to the known self is when you know your true identity, whilst others may not know you have.
Okay.
Your self-esteem, what you are capable of doing, which differentiates you from the others. If I have to give an example of the known self, when it's a Christian program, I'll go into the Bible.
All right.
Typical example is David. When David appeared public for the first time, when he was sent by his father to give food to his brothers. At that time, Israelites were at war with the Philistines. In fact, David was just a young boy at the age 17, not known by anybody. But when he came and then saw the war and realized that nobody was capable, no Israelite was capable of facing Goliath, knowing who he was, you could see that the words that came from him, this is a guy who was full of God's word.
Yes.
So the word of God had given him knowledge about who he was.
Yes.
You get it? So whatever anyone was saying, his family, mother, brothers, sisters, the public, was just going to be either confirmation of who he was or lies about what they think about him.
That's right. Because David knew who he was.
Yes.
And so with that, he had that kind of boldness.
So he knew who he was.
And confidence.
So that embedded knowledge in you, that gives you self-confidence.
Exactly.
Self-confidence of what you are capable of doing and perhaps what you are not also capable of doing. So it makes you, knowing yourself helps you to accept some assignment and reject some assignment. Accept some opportunities and perhaps reject some opportunities. It helps you to make right decision for yourself, which prevents you from doing try and error. So knowing self helps you to be able to know who you really are, your limits and your strength, and then makes you to make right choices.
This point is very great, and you could see that is the challenges most people are going through, because they are find it so much difficult to make good decisions for their own lives. And you could see that they don't really know who they are. So they don't even know whether to take this opportunity or to reject this opportunity. But when you know who you are, you decide for yourself. No, I think taking this contract wouldn't help my life. So I have to reject it. So it is very essential for you to know yourself.
Very important.
Let's come to the unknown self.
Then I wish we talk about unknown self. I would like to reserve it to the last point.
Okay, so
I want to talk about the public self.
Okay.
The public self is in two diversities. You see, the public self is the one that you have chosen to show to the public, that how you want the public to know you. You have some reservation. The second one is where public might have thought they know you. Once you yourself know that they don't know you the way you know yourself.
As they also know.
Yeah, so you have chosen some part. Let's come to the Bible. Typically, a question was raised by Jesus Christ, a profound question in Matthew chapter 16. He asked his disciples the public view about him. What does the public knew about him, or what they say about him, their mindset about him. And then straight away, the disciples answered him. They never asked him why he was asking that question. And they started telling him, yes, the public have been saying you are John the Baptist, you are Elijah, you are one of the prophets. Then he had to come to them, being close to him, asking them what their view also about him. And then they straight away disqualified what the public knew about their master, their teacher, and their mentor. They went straight and by telling him, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God, I am that I am. So that is the public self Jesus chose. And then another thing that I will, close it with the public self is that in Matthew chapter 13 from verse 10, the disciples also asked their master Jesus a very profound question. And what was the question? The question was, and then is, they asked Jesus, why do you speak to them in parables? Jesus never asked them the reason why they were asking that question. He also went straight to answer them that who were those them? That's the public. Because the disciples now found themselves as being part of Jesus and not being part of the public. Because they were in the public when Jesus chose them. And now they have caught the spirit of Jesus Christ. So now they have known Jesus in person. I mean, there's a man that they could sleep together with, get anointed with, eat together with, sleep together with, move together. So they got to know him. The public didn't have that access to Jesus Christ. They knew Jesus from far away, and they thought to their mind, they thought they knew Jesus, but they didn't know Jesus Christ as they thought they knew him. So now category has come in. The disciples have placed the public in a category different from where the category they have found themselves in the life of Jesus Christ. And yes, may answer them. Yes, I preach to them in parable because they have not been mandated to understand the mysteries of the kingdom. But to you, who are close to me, who are the chosen ones, the called out ones, the ecclesial one, the one that God has selected, to be royals and then priesthood for him, you have been mandated to understand the mysteries of the kingdom. The kingdom is not an open something that anybody can just come by it. You get close to it, dive deep into it before you'll be able to know its value. It's a hidden treasure. But now you have been mandated to them, they have not been mandated. So that is a public self. You choose to let public know. So you give part of yourself to the public and part you keep to yourself, and then what the public also think they know about you, which sometimes they are right or wrong.
Exactly.
So that is the reason why the known self becomes very important, so that you always know who you are and you'll never be dictated to.
So with the public self, can I ask that, can hypocrisy play a role in this public self? Because here lies the case you are explaining, that society might see you in a different way, and you can also decide to show yourself to society in another way. So can one person play hypocritic lifestyle here?
Hypocrisy has always been a negative word. Pretending to be who you are not. I love the question, but I'll put it in this way.
Right.
Someone said, a preacher once said, all human beings are pretentious.
Okay.
All human beings are pretentious. It's like we pretend, we dress nicely.
That's absolutely
we
true.
dress nicely as if we are not going through. So this is a doctor, this is a prophet, but he might have his personal challenges, but he covers it with, titles and other things. So sometimes we pretend. So sometimes there's a need for you to do that pretense. Very important. There's a need for you not to open up everything to the public. Yeah. Sometimes there's a need for them to make the discovery themselves.
And I believe that, and especially this particular thing happens to leaders. Because sometimes you don't need to, bring out your weakness to the public. You have to cover up and then perfect yourself indoors and let the public see your strength. It doesn't make you hypocritic, but you just have to.
Very important. That's the reason there's a need for you to surround yourself with the right kind of people who can praise you and criticize you at the same thing. That are part of your team. In fact, God even said, let us. When you are being created, God did not say, let me. He said, let us.
Yes.
So teamwork is very important. It's for you to be corrected and for you also to be appraised at the same time. When you are doing the right thing and when you are doing the wrong thing, so that you could be able to be in the stature where you're supposed to be.
Let's move to our next point with the third one.
The third one is the private self. Private self is the feeling that you have for yourself, how you know yourself, which the public do not know you. You know what you are capable of and what you are not capable of. And then your negatives and then the positives. That one, you keep it to yourself. It doesn't make you hypocrite. No. But what happens is that you reveal to those who are close to you. Like, let's talk, for example, like the Bible says that Adam and Eve were naked, but they were not ashamed. In other words, your nakedness need not to be seen in public.
Absolutely.
By your nakedness, when you are with your wife, when you are with your husband, you are naked. And sometimes even in a family life, sometimes you have your child is there, a relative will be there. You will just have only towel on you. But when you hear somebody knocking, you try to do sometimes, do everything. You cover up to meet the person. Okay. So when you visit people, do they take you to their bedroom?
Not at all.
Yeah, they are hot. But when you are close to them, that's their private. But because of the love they have for you and the trust they have for you, that's where there are two words which identify themselves with, private self. That is a denial and then betrayal. So denial is that no one is ready to accept anyone who he does not trust into his or her closet to reveal his private self to that person or weaknesses to that person. No, but a loved one, a trusted one, he will do that or she will do that. So when it happens that the one betrays the person, it becomes, sometimes it ends in the life of the person. Sometimes it ends the person in psychiatric. In fact, it causes serious emotional impact on the person because the person never expected a loved one. I'm not saying you don't forgive, but it's very hard. Or Jesus might have forgiven Judas, but he went to kill himself. What about Peter? He denied Jesus 3 times, but Jesus forgave him. He reinstated him. He became the leader. So private life makes you to be of yourself in a way that which you don't open up to people, with the exception of open it up to the loved ones. That makes it your private self because you choose to.
So with the private self, you decide to reveal your inner and deepest secrets
Very important.
to those that are very close.
We're very
you.
important because communication is very vital. And then you can't solve every problem yourself. And there's no human being who is not carrying something. Everybody is carrying something. And therefore, there's a need for you to be sharing your emotional experiences, the negative ones, for somebody to come in to help you. So that is what private self deals with. That's the reason why denial and then betrayal becomes very important.
Okay. Yeah. And I think Jesus even did that because Jesus had 12 disciples. But on the Mount of Transfiguration, he just took 3 and then he transfigured himself. Yeah. So even Jesus had a private life, separated from the disciples. Yeah. So even as a person, you have to know the kind of people you tell your secret things with.
Very important.
Like your visions, your goals.
Very important.
And everything that you think
very important.
Very vital to your life.
Yeah, you have to weigh their maturity.
Exactly.
You know, even out of the 3 that Jesus chose among the 12, you realize that he had one closer to him, which no one had that access. And then all the disciples could testify of the closeness of John with Jesus Christ.
Wow.
So it's very important.
So the last one, then we go to
the last one is the unknown self. And I love the unknown self so much. You know, unknown self, the theory of unknown self, or the concept of the unknown self by the theologians and the philosophers tells that you don't know who you are until somebody comes into your life to tell you who you are and what you can be. So the unknown self calls for communication and then relationship, good relationship. Nobody has become great without the help of somebody. That's where discovery comes in.
Exactly.
You know, that's where the law of introduction also is what known here or identify itself here. If I have to talk about the unknown self, because unknown self has so much to offer in a way to public for them to know the reason why, the need to be able to know their limits.
Okay.
And the need for them to make relationships. But they should be genuine ones.
Yes.
And then you yourself must also grow to have a teachable heart. Because if you don't have a teachable heart, no human being, one way or the other, if the person is not matured, wants to be corrected or rebuked.
Yes.
Yeah. In fact, Jesus rebuked Peter, but Peter took it in good faith.
It takes humility to
Thank you. So that's humility. Thank you so much. So the unknown self tells you that you don't know who you are and what you can become. In fact, let me give a typical example in the Bible.
Okay.
2 Samuel chapter 17. Yeah. So something happened over there. When Absalom was killed by Joab, there was this guy who was then a reporting journalist called Ahimaaz. In fact, at war, he was the one reporting the victories of Israel or whatever happened at the war front to the king, David. But then he was a reporting journalist. But when Absalom rose up against his father, in fact, it happened that David, knowing very well the strength of his military, who had to go to war against the military of Absalom, he knew definitely Absalom would not be able to match his military. So he warned them straightly. They should make sure they don't kill his son. But Joab overlooked that and killed Absalom. Now, the one to report the case to King David was very important. And Ahimaaz had been sending report all the time from the, war front. And therefore, he thought he was the one that would be chosen by Joab. Joab was the military captain of David, But Joab never chose him. And he did not understand. Joab chose another person called Cushai. Cushai means black. So he chose him and asked Cushai to go. Cushai was not conversant on the, the report, if it comes to that of Ahimaaz. Because Ahimaaz was conversant, that has been his work, he could do it easily. So why he was not chosen, and then Joab chose Cushai, Ahimaaz could not take it. He said, no. Let me also go. But Joab told him, no, this time, the report you have been sending, it was different from this one. This one, it is the king's son who had what? Been killed or who had died in war or at battle. So the information you are sending, you are going to send this time is different. You are not conversant with that. So Joab was a leader. And so he knew the strength of his followers. he knew the strength of Ahimaaz. You know, Ahimaaz persisted and Joab allowed him to go. But when he went, he could not deliver the message. So the king got angry with him and asked him to turn aside. But he was a skillful journalist. Why could he not perform this time? And he even did not know. You see, yeah, that is unknown stuff. He thought he knew everything. He thought he had arrived. But the man ninja, his leader, who was also the man ninja, knew very well that there was, how do we call it, demarcation, the limit he could go. You understand? But he did not know he had a limit he could go. And when he persisted, he realized that he had a limit. So that is what calls for a man ninja. If you're going to a cell, somebody has to come into your life. That's the reason why relationship becomes important. Okay. And mentor and mentee becomes very important. Okay, let me just end up with this.
Yeah.
Presently, when you consider the president of Liberia, George Oponwia, he never thought he could get to that office in his lifetime. He became the world best, African best, and European best at the same year in 1995. But who was George Oponwia? Not too much educated. In fact, when he stood for presidency for the first time with Honorable Lady Johnson Sirleaf, the world body realized that, I'm not saying he won, but the world body realized that George Oponwia was not fit for the presidency. He was fit to be the world footballer, you know, but not at the political level. He had to go back to school to qualify him to become who he is. But then he was discovered.
So would you say that with the unknown self, it is sometimes time that reveals who you are?
Yeah, definitely. But it's not only time, it calls for good relationship.
Good relationship.
Yeah, like I'm talking about George Oponwia, for example.
Someone has to tell you who you are.
Yeah, somebody has to tell you who you are. And not only to tell you who you are, must also help you to become who you are.
Exactly.
So it calls for submissiveness. Submissiveness, and then one having a teachable heart.
Right.
So if you don't have a teachable heart and then not submissive, you won't be able to become who you should be, who is somebody who has experience and have eyes to see potentials of people, knowing what you can become. You won't avail yourself to become. Yeah.
So talking about this, I would want you to dive into how do we then discover ourselves. You have already made mention that you have to have a good relationship with people, and also you have to be submissive and then teachable so that someone can help you. Is there any other way we can discover ourselves?
Yeah, you have to, as I said, you have to discover yourself by one true desire. All things come by desire. You know, things can never be forced on you. There's a saying which goes that you can force a horse to a riverside, but you can't force it to drink. So that is the reason why the principle of imagery is very important. You first have to see the picture, to desire the picture, so that you can become the picture. A lot of people have become great because they saw a picture. Let me give a typical example. We've heard of O.J. Simpson, Oriental James Simpson, who became the fastest football runner in America history. You know, he saw a leader, the one who was then the fastest runner, known as Jimmy. And then he was at the age of 12. He saw Jimmy somewhere eating ice cream in an ice cream parlor. This 12 years boy went straight to him. And then everybody was expecting this black boy. O.J. Simpson is black African, and then was expecting, that's a black American, was expecting the guy to ask something from him, either some of the ice cream or some money. But he went and threw challenge to him and said, Jim, I one day break your record. At age 12, he saw Jim performing, becoming, and in 1973, Jimmy world record was broken, and there wasn't any other person than Oriental, that's O.J. Simpson, Oriental James Simpson. So he saw a picture. So that is what the law of imagery, or principle of imagery comes in. You have to see a picture before you can become the picture. So your society, the environment in which you find yourself, plays a major role in your success in life, in the area of the unknown self.
Exactly. And I believe that environment has always played a major role in our
Very
lives.
important.
But looking at what you just said, it means that sometimes too, you can just prophesy to yourself by looking ahead and then saying to yourself that one of these days I will become somebody like this. And definitely you will be. Just as you made mention with the OJ and then
I've grown to be an optimist, not a pessimist. An optimist believes that there's better future.
Okay.
You see, because it's very dangerous for you to look into the future with the eyes of despair, or hopelessness. No, or try and error. No, you have to be an optimist. Yes. You have to have a good image of the future and then dive into it. It may not be easy, but the optimists know that definitely it is going to be, no matter what. He tries to discard the negative turns around him and dwell on the positive, because there will always be positives and negatives. So your choices will help you to become who you should become.
Your choices will help you to become who you truly want to become.
Definitely.
So tell us, how important is discovering yourself, and what is the power in true identity?
In fact, the Almighty God said, lack of knowledge, my people perish. He didn't say that lack of the environment, geographical environment they found themselves in, lack of, money. It's a lack of knowledge. What is knowledge? It's an acquisition of information. And therefore, you can never become who you should be if an information has never been given to you, or if you have not come across information. Okay. So information is very important to the progress of a person. So that's the reason education becomes everything. As Joseph Bacon classified education, or define education as knowledge, which gives power for you toward progress. And when you talk of power of discovery, in fact, power is being defined as anything that leads you to progress. And therefore, when you discover your real you, there's no way you'll remain the same. I wish I would have time later to talk about the story of an eagle. You know, can I go on to talk about it? Okay, so briefly, you see, a hunter in South America went for hunting and discovered an egg. But in fact, he wasn't familiar with the egg and decided to bring the egg home. And then his hen was, brooding some eggs. So he added the egg to it. And when the egg was hatched by the hen, he realized it was an eagle's egg. So an eaglet came out of. Okay. But the eaglet was hatched alongside with a chicken. And therefore, the eaglet was day and night in the mind, things that he's a chicken, and was playing with the chicken, sleeping in the chicken coop, eating like the chicken, doing everything like the chicken. But the hunter knew very well that there's a public view. The hunter knew very well that the eaglet wasn't a chicken. You get it? So one day, the eaglet, as usual, was with his family, the chicken, and then we're drinking some water. So by the riverside, an image reflected on the river, and then he realized, he lifted his eyes, allow me to use the personal pronoun. Right. He lifted his eyes and then saw a bird like him. Then he started asking himself, how come that I am walking and this same like me? And then he started looking around himself and realized, these ones that I've taken to be my family are different from me. So he decided to make an effort to fly, to dwell, to be part of because he realized that being in the sky is better than being on. And then he ended up, getting toward the sky. And it happened so because of the knowledge that he had through the reflection of the image of the bird like him. And then he never ended up being a chicken.
Wow. That is insightful there. So you can see that there is so much power.
Knowledge is very important.
Exactly. Knowing who you are gives you power.
Information is paramount.
Information will help you to succeed in life. So kindly give us your last words before.
My last words is that I would like to say this, in the Bible, there's a first Adam and a second Adam. The first Adam was created. In fact, he was not born. He was created, he was not supposed to grow. So the devil was able to overcome him. No book was given to him. So he was not supposed to grow with knowledge. The second Adam, which is Jesus Christ, was born. He had to grow. And then a law book was given to him. And then he paid attention to the law book and grew with it. So Luke 2:52 says that Jesus grew in stature, not only eating, but as he was eating, he was growing at the same time, in knowledge. So when the devil came the second time, he was able to overcome Satan based on knowledge. It is written. He quoted the Bible. It's written. So when we grow in knowledge, nothing can hinder us from becoming who we should be. Okay. Knowledge will help us to release our potential. In fact, education has no colors. Kofi Annan was black, but he added United Nations Council organization for 2 consecutive times. His color never prevented him because his mind was like them. You understand? So knowledge is everything, and therefore we have to dive deep into knowledge, desire knowledge, know who we are, come out, and you become. I wanted to say a lot about George Oponwia, which he never thought he would become the best, but somebody discovered him, and then he also adhered to the person, went through the necessary disciplines, and now he had gone beyond being the world footballer, African best, the world best, African best, and then European best, but now president of his nation.
Wow. So sometimes if you don't really know who you are, you just have to avail yourself for someone to discover you and help you to become who you are.
Very important.
That is very great. So, man of God, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and perspective when it comes to knowing and discovering your true self. And I believe that my audience or my viewers have come to the realization of discovering their true self. And so thank you so much for coming, and I really appreciate your presence.
Thank you for having me. God richly bless you.
Like I told you earlier on, that after this conversation, you will get to know your true identity. Thank you so much for sticking and staying with us till the very end. God bless you so much. And do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel on Believers Diaries. And for any participation and support, you can also contact us and we will be at your service. If there has been any questions from the conversation that you think you want to ask, kindly put it in the comment section below and we will address it at the right time. Thank you so much, and God be with you. God bless you.